say you don't call up Google Hangouts. You don't breathe into the mic. You don't go respond to his work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. I do, but I deep.
A little key change. That's new.
Well, I felt bad last time because I added in that like repetition of you don't mess around. So it was like, all right, I'll do this last thing, and then that's it. And then you can't say that it's just a carbon copy of you don't mess around with Jim.
We can still say that, but it's not going to be as impactful.
Yeah. Now being surrounded with a lot of children's toys, like my son's one of his and mine favorite toys is like basically like a mock Game Boy, and there are themes that are like, hey, this is definitely not Legend of Zelda, or hey, this is definitely not like the battle theme for Pokemon.
Oh, that immediately started playing in my head the moment that you said that. I'm not gonna lie. Guys, welcome back to episode 20 of the Turntable. We've lasted 20 episodes. Brooklyn, are you as surprised as I am that we're still here?
I'm not surprised. No, I think we have a good format here. We don't have too many limitations as to what people can bring album wise. And yeah, we have a good rotating panel. We have some good guests, and we have a newbie. We have a new guy.
This is true. A fellow Canadian. We'll bring him on soon, but let's get our good friend Zach Ford in here first. Zach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Once you said that there's not too many limitations, it makes me wonder what is the limitation. I'm really going to go for it the next time. I'm going to my boundaries and put some crackpot shit.
We had a 3-hour Broadway cast recording once.
That would be your dream. You would probably support that. You're like, yes.
At first, I was all for it. And then we went through it, and I was like, nope. Zach, what did you bring to the show today?
I am bringing Jamilla Wood's Legacy.
All right. Let's bring in our next guest. Was also on the show with Zach once before, second time joining us. It's our good friend, Dan Baxter. Dan.
What's happening?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right, thanks. Very excited to have you back on.
Glad to be on. It's a fantastic little selection of albums we all gathered here.
I was really impressed with this grouping. Dan, what did you bring to, in fact?
I brought the Kinks, Lola versus Powerman, and the Moneygoround Part 1.
I had to type that in. I was so scared it wasn't going to fit into the little box. But
you just call it Lola. It's,
In most messages with Brooklyn, I just call it Lola versus ellipsis.
Yeah.
All right. As Brooklyn was alluding to, we do have a newbie to the show. Fellow Canadian. And that's Josh from Vinyl Spin YVR. Josh, so happy to have you with us. Please tell us more about yourself, your shows, and what you brought to the show today.
Holy smokes. I didn't expect that chance. So I'm Josh from Vinyl Spin YVR, and I've got my, similar to Dan's B-Sides Live, I've got my own vinyl online thing going on. Where I talk about music, and especially Canadian music. So Brooklyn,
yes,
we got to stick together.
Yeah,
and I think you'll see. I really liked your album choice, even if it's not Canadian, but just because you are,
So Josh, the last time that we had Dan and Zach on, I brought on Tragically Hip.
Okay, nice.
But now, the more that I think about it, I think I brought on the wrong album with Fully Completely. I think Road Apples is the clear choice there, but yeah.
Oh well, you can always bring that one next round.
Yes, yeah.
You're a coward. You should have picked that this round when we come back.
Episode 40.
Yeah, I'll get into it later.
All right. Well,
you didn't really plan that out.
No.
I brought Supertramp's Breakfast in America. The 1979, I want to say, absolute classic. And Brooklyn, you're going to be starting us off. What did you bring?
I brought Dot by Vulfmoon.
Right, tell us more about that.
We're not going to get into. Oh yeah, I guess we already got everybody's album. Yeah, sorry. this series, I kind of go back and forth from like, if I think I did really good. So like 2 episodes ago, I got onto the Hall of Fame with sports, with who listens to the news, and then I was like, let's do like a Canadian artist that nobody has heard of really, and then he kind of got destroyed. So it was like, all right, we're going back to this like a random one. So my girlfriend and I, we were listening to random songs in the drive home, and she showed me Disco Snail off of this album, and I was like, "Oh, this song is incredible. Let's look at this album and see what's on there." And this album was like 37 minutes, I think, or so. I was like, "Perfect. Let's bring this to this episode, and we'll see how it goes." This came out last year. This guy is more commonly known as Jack Stratton, formerly of Vulfpeck, which is I think is like American folk sort of soul deal. This album's kind of interesting in the sense that I feel like there is definitely like a sense in the arrangement in terms of like it's kind of going back in time where like the first couple of tracks feel a little more modern, and then there's like a clear sort of halfway point. And then it kind of gets into some more interesting sort of covers and whatnot. Just got to find the name of the person, the name of the singer that he mostly collaborates with. It is just one sec.
Evangeline?
Yes, Evangeline. Yeah, she does an incredible job on both songs that they do. But this album in general, like you can tell that they're just having a lot of fun. Try not to take this album too seriously. Literally, one of the songs is called "It Feels Good to Write a Song," and then it repeats that with like "It Feels Good to Drink a Juice," and just like the arrangement in that song in particular, among others, it just feels very tight. Then you have like I think like just some instrument choices, like the synth in "Too Hot in LA" is really good. Disco Snails in particular, the song that reminds me of like a much cleaner sort of like Bo Burnham, where it's just like this like nonsensical sort of deal. Yeah, there's one miss in particular, and then I would even say that like Little Thunder, which I think is sort of like the halfway point, like that definitely seemed like that's a song style that I wanted to do for this album that doesn't really kind of fit with everything else, because everything is pretty much like disco funk. There's a little bit of Blue-Eyed Soul in Tokyo Night. Letting Things Go is another really good sort of like Temptations-esque sort of sound. But yeah, I would say that this is like an overall good time. Let's see what everybody else thinks.
This album's inconsistent as hell to me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, you are right. This is inconsistent.
Yes.
There are really, really good elements to it. Like in my notes, I wrote, I really like the bass line in Little Thunder. I love the saxophone in Tokyo Night. And I'm not. My big thing is with stuff like this, I kind of classify it as like lounge funk, like sophista-funk almost.
I like that.
Thank you. I have a hard time. You've got to like really, really grab me for like a full album's worth of this. And I like just like a little bit more than half of it. The length is perfect. If it was any longer than it actually is, it probably would have gotten a lower score from me. But I agree, Evangeline, love her as a vocalist. I think that she's really great. Oh my God. I could not stand It Feels Good to Write a Song. It felt like a Family Guy gag where Peter's just like doing random things and he's singing, "It feels good to drink a beer. It feels good to drink a beer. It feels good to drive a car. It feels good to drive a car." So there were like some moments that I thought were like really nice. It was like smooth and like loose, and I was kind of like vibing with it. And then songs like "Nice to You" would pop up. And that song should have been a rock song. That should have had like a rock guitar behind it. It would have worked so much better stylistically wise. And then it's just lots of good moments and elements, but as an album as a whole, it was not for me necessarily.
Okay.
I also found it very inconsistent and just like desiring a little more fullness or grandness to the sound. He was kind of minimal in his instrument usage, and it made it seem a little thin. But I think he is best when really embracing the goofiness, and like, because I feel like Disco Snail just sounds like a Cake song, and I just like the self-awareness of the goofiness. It was very Cake to me, and Cake can be as cheesy as hell, but I still kind of like them because they just like own their cheesiness. And I felt like they did on that, and like Too Hot in LA, I think is a lot of fun. I also just like It's Too Hot fucking everywhere, so the whole time it's like right on, too damn hot.
Dude, I'm in Florida. The average temperature here is like 88 degrees.
I need to be where it's dark and 40 degrees at all times. But yeah, so I think there's like one of the routes that they take that kind of goofy side is great, but the lounge funk, that term is great because it perfects why it's not good. Is because the lounge part takes everything out of funk that makes funk great, which is it takes away the coolness. It makes it for cheesy people in suits. And then funk is just, it's flat then, and that's how it is. So.
Hey, look, ABC did a great job when it comes to stuff like that. All right. Josh, Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
So
wants to hop in.
I agree. The album was just crazy inconsistent, but I absolutely loved it for that. Like, I think I'm different right now in this group so far with that. I freaking love this album so much. I'm usually a guy where I have to give something a second listen through to like get the
Same.
the melodies and stuff that I remember and that are familiar to me. And this one, just almost every song was like instantly a vibe. The opening track, Got to Be Mine, just felt like, walking down the street with your headphones in on a sunny day downtown. And then it hit me in the face with those flute runs. I was like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I like those as well.
So awesome. And like Tokyo Night was super catchy with those harmonized vocals. And I swear the piano riff in Tokyo Night is a nod to What a Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I wasn't the only one thinking that. And then It Feels Good to Write a Song. At that point, I guess my only comment on that one is at that point I was like, okay, this is one of those albums that's all over the place. and I realized like almost every track is featuring a different artist, which is so cool. And so when I got to Little Thunder, there was something so familiar about it, and I couldn't put my finger on it.
It reminded me of like Rubber Soul Beatles era.
Such a Beatles song.
Oh yeah. I can see that. Yeah, that falls in line. So what I was going to say was it turns out, so I had no idea who Vulfmoon was, and I had no idea who Jacob Jeffries and Harrison Whitford were, who collaborated on that one. It turns out I know a completely different song that all three of those people worked on. And so it like instantly appealed to me. I loved it. The Surfer Girl instrumental was random but cool. Just like carried on the vibe, It wasn't trying too hard. It was just
Surfer Girl cover. That was like unlistenable because it had like a honky tonk kind of like a little slang to it. And that's one of my favorite Beach Boys songs, like easily a top 5 one. And I'm like, I could be listening to Surfer Girl.
Oh, that's so fair. I get that.
Listen, Surfer Girl is a vibe, and it's 1000% a Shed song.
Explain that. Please explain
a Shed song is a left-handed cigarette, if you will. The grass, the jazz stuff.
Jazz cabbage.
Jazz cabbage, yeah.
Gotcha. Fair, yeah.
We are very cool people.
just trying to be classy, not just afraid on say it's the name of the drug.
I'll say it's weed.
It is.
Oh, weed. Oh,
It's the PC term.
Man, I thought it was heroin the whole time. I missed it. Fucking off, yeah.
I thought "Nice to You" was a really great track too. It was just catchy, and I assume it's a dude's voice pitched up because of how mature it sounds. But it actually gave me like young Michael Jackson vibes, like Jackson 5 days, which I really enjoyed because I loved the Jackson 5 as a kid. And I just thought that was a unique sound he was achieving there. And then Disco Snails, which seems to be the famous track of this album. That one was like, I sent that to some of my coworkers today and I was like, just listen to this and tell me what you think. Yeah, no, it's such a ride. Again, it's not trying hard. It's just creating a vibe for you. That's exactly what it was. And every time I put this album on, it's exactly what I need. So yeah, very versatile. Each song is as fun as the next. I think there's only 2 songs in my little talk here that I didn't mention, so I'll let that speak for itself, I guess.
And Dan?
Wolfpack's fun, you know, and they're a really talented group of music dorks making music for music dorks, you know. So you can really get into it if you want to get into it. You can have some fun. They're goofing around all the time, you know. They're always doing all kinds of different stuff and making good music too, you know. I saw them over the summer with my girlfriend at Red Rocks, and they played Tokyo Night with Evangeline. They did Disco Snails, and you know the crowds just go crazy. It's just because it's you know, they invite you to be part of their fun, and I don't know, it's it was all over the place. You know, I think, you know, we all kind of hit on that. It was an album that was just in so many different directions. I really loved Little Thunder. I thought that was very fun and Beatlesy, but like like you hit on, it just stands out like a sore thumb on a lot of that stuff. So
it's the one that sounds the most distinct from all of the other songs.
Yeah.
At least with like every other song, you can find like a loose connection. That one kind of just seems to be the one that's there.
Yeah.
But do we have any last thoughts on this one before we wrap this one up? All right, doesn't seem like it. Brooklyn, this is your album, so give us your score, your favorite, and your least favorite.
All right, so for score, I had to think of the most fun number that I could. 7.77.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I think it's just fine for listening. I'll start with my least favorite. It is Surfer Girl, just because it's the one that I probably want to skip the most. Like even like the closer Hit the Target is just kind of mad, but I would even say I'd even go back to that to try and find more. But Surfer Girl is, I feel like, his idea of like, oh, I want to make a song for SpongeBob SquarePants, but they won't let me. So let's cover Surfer Girl instead and give it this really wonky sort of like slide guitar sort of deal. My favorite is the opener, Got to Be Mine. Like Josh was saying, I think it's the perfect sort of like wake up in the morning, feel good sort of tune. And the influence that I got from it, I felt like it kind of took the backbone, or like at least the chord arrangement of Bad Bad Leroy Brown, and then kind of turned it into this kind of like walk down the sidewalk funk sort of deal. I really like the way Evangeline descends in the chorus, and like Josh was saying as well, that flute run at the end is just the perfect little accent in it. Also, the bass line is just a nice sort of slap bassy, funky sort of deal. Perfectly executed, not trying to do a ton. Kind of wish that they would kind of make an album based on that whole sort of sound. But yeah, that's where I lean.
I feel like I'm gonna be really harsh with this one. I'm giving it like a 5.8. I think that it's more good than bad, which is why it isn't sitting at just like a solid 5 for me. But there are like 3 songs that really brought it down for me. I'm gonna be the contrarian. I can tell right now, because I feel like I'm the one person who just did not like Disco Snails.
Andrew, you just don't like fun songs. They need to be
It reminded
serious.
me-
They need to be metaphorical. They need to be whims. They need to be like, look at how sharp of a writer I am.
I'm about
It
to send
reminded-
you so many songs about snails. I know a weird amount of snail songs. You're about to get things.
It reminded me so much of Rick D's Disco Duck that I don't know. It just did not sit with me. However, picking a favorite song between the first two tracks, Got to Be Mine and Letting Things Go, was hard. I ended up going with Letting Things Go, even though I kind of went back and forth. That was just like really nice, really smooth, gentle, but like in a really good, tight way. Let's go to Josh.
All right. I really took this album on the surface level and I just got pure enjoyment out of it. So I went in really hot with a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm one of those guys where I can go see a movie and like cinephile will be like, that was a horrible movie. And I'll be like, I had a great time.
That is the Brooklyn bar dynamic. That is literally what it is.
Perfect. Okay, so you guys understand me. My least favorite song, honestly, I almost feel like my least favorite song, whatever I say, is kind of meaningless because I enjoyed all of it. But because I had to pick one, I picked Too Hot in LA. I know Zach's gonna hate me for that. But it just didn't impact me the way the rest of the songs did. And then my favorite was Nice to You. I just thought it was really it was an earworm, and I love the vocal effect too.
All right. Dan, we're gonna go to you next.
All right. Start with score.
Sure.
Okay.
Do it however you want.
I'm giving this a 6. I think just a flat 6 here. It's a lot of fun, but it's a 6 in my book. My favorite, like I said, was Little Thunder. I just kind of really did enjoy that sound. Least favorites probably Feels Good to Write a Song, because there's a couple other like Wolfpack universe songs that are like that, and it just, I don't know, I can't connect with it. So
All right.
Yeah.
And Zach,
So for score, and as a guy raised on Pitchfork, I will always give the single decimal score. It's all I can have in my head at this point. So I give it 6.6. 6.6. And my favorite song is Too Hot in LA. I feel like that's when I was most on the same page as the performers, which I'm starting to realize is a remix of Woody and Jeremy, who sings on it, like their original song. So maybe that's where you separate. Like, you're getting the Vol stuff, and I just need to listen to Woody and Jeremy instead. And maybe they have some cool stuff. So that could be the one win from the album, is maybe I listen to those guys. And then my least favorite song is Surfer Girl. It is an abomination. And yeah.
harsh words to close us out. Brooklyn, what does that bring the average score to?
That gives it just over 7, 7.02. And that puts it just below Starfire by Caitlin Smith, but not quite as good as Air Guitar by Stops.
Which I still think is a crime. That album should be a much higher score. All right.
Yes.
So, Zach, we're going to go to your album next. Tell us more about Legacy.
Yeah, so last time I brought on Andrew Bird, and I'm trying to kind of cover my two musical bases. Primarily was indie rock, and then I was just a weird, like, 12-year-old white boy playing basketball to the adult contemporary R&B station in Cleveland. And that station has, like, just came back to me in very important parts of my life. And so, like, a love for adult contemporary R&B is deeply within my head. And I think, this is a modern record. It's 2018. Someone could check me on that.
2019.
19, thank you. 2019, it was really one of my favorite albums of the decade, but it owes a lot to kind of the neo-soul movement of the late 90s, early 2000s that I think but modernizes it in a way, adds a little more poppiness to it, has some rap verses on it, and so it brings the sound that reminds me of playing on my cracky driveway basketball as a 12-year-old, brings it into my interest of music today. And I think she's kind of the best one doing it. Her last album was also extremely great. She also does a song about Allen Iverson's quote, and everyone should just do songs about NBA famous quotes about practice. The whole thing's about Allen Iverson in my mind.
Here.
Recommend that. But she titles each song on this after a Black artist. And lyrically, I'm never going to be able to give that much insight because my brain just doesn't function that way. I'm more distracted with the melody. But I do like that. I feel like the sound evolves with the character of the person that it's honoring of each song. And as you get to like the weird section at the end of Basquiat and Sun Ra, it gets a little jazzier to kind of go with their artsier kind of style versus some of the early songs that have more of that just like a pop hit and a little more of a energy to it. It's great running music. I've always done like Zara, like took me through some marathons and Betty and stuff. And it has the energy, but then, yeah, it does still vary it up by adding a little more spacier sounds kind of through the middle and the end.
All right. Anyone want to start? All right, I'll start. This is an album that I want to like more than I do because I do love this style. I do love this kind of like futurism R&B with like tones of pop and like you know, spaciness. And I love a lot of the choices instrumentally speaking. Like on Baldwin, like that song in particular, instrumentally, I just like really, really adored. As well as, which one was it? I think it was like Eartha. But my biggest problem was twofold. One, I thought the production was a little off. I thought that the mix was just kind of messy in some points. Like some points they were trying to do like a wall of sound effect, but like not everything was coming through clearly. And the other thing was, I think I'm not a Jamilla fan. I think she's very talented as a singer. I think that she is really good when it comes to holding melodies, like, and all that stuff. But every moment that there was a guest, I felt like the guest outshined her. And maybe this was just like the wrong album for me to get into her because I've never heard of her before. So I had never heard any of her songs. And there are some great tracks on here. As I said, Baldwin, Eartha, Zora, Giovanni, and the boogie version of Betty. And Basquiat. But I don't know. There were just things that were holding me back from loving it as much as I think if this was live, I think I'd be all over this.
I'll go next. I really like this. I don't listen to a ton of adult contemporary R&B, mostly for the show or in terms of like when it gets radio play. Josh will know what I mean. On CBC Radio, there's a show called Marvin's Room, which specifically highlights this genre, and I think it's only on once a week, but always have a good time with it. I think this is, of the albums that we're talking about, probably the most cohesive from start to finish, where Dot was kind of like, here's a compilation of a bunch of songs that don't necessarily fit a theme. This fits one from start to finish. The first half in particular, when you get from like Betty to probably like Frida or so, I find like the tempo just sort of like gradually picks up, and I really sort of like that. Jamilla Woods' voice also has an interesting quality. It reminds me a lot of like a trumpet. I think just kind of the way that she delivers it. And there's one other instance today where I'm going to be comparing a vocalist to kind of like an instrumental sort of sound. In terms of like lyrics, I think the line that immediately got my attention was the opening line in Eartha, I used to be afraid of myself, hung my smile on a shelf, hid my teeth when I laughed. Now I'm too far grown for your plot. But other than that sort of like really kind of aware sort of lyrics, I think that she's just having a lot of fun. I think the accompaniments are great. They sort of mesh really well. In particular, Nitty Scott with Sonia. And then even like the last 5 tracks are really good for a second half. Sun Ra, I'm kind of just on. But yeah, I thought this was a really good sort of like start to finish sort of run.
I do want to talk about the voice just because I skipped that. You guys have both brought it up. And to defend is she's not an athletic singer at all. Like her ambitions are modest for what she's doing vocally. But what makes to me the like great R&B singers that I tend to stick to are have a character to their voice. I think there's such a specificity. Like she sounds like herself, kind of like an Erykah Badu, who to me is like the most distinctive R&B voice that I love. And she's different registers, but there's just like a relatability. Like you connect with her as a person because the voice is just so specific to her, and that's why it's great.
There were a few songs where I felt that way. As I said, I think if I saw her live, I would be so much more in love with her.
I agree. I do think she has a really unique voice. I think she kind of stands out among, especially some of her contemporaries on this. But Jamila's she's from Chicago, so I feel a good amount of hometown pride in her as well. And she was just on I think a Chance the Rapper track recently too. So a little bit more of that Chicago love there. A lot of it's just super chill, really catchy. I find myself kind of humming some stuff later in the day. But if you want to get in, to her lyrics, there's a lot to unpack there and a lot to really dive into. I do love Basquiat. The bass in that is so fun. I think that's a real fun, catchy one. And then I also really did like Sun Ra as well. So really digging this.
I agree that the way like her vocals or the way she presents herself, I should say, on the album really makes you feel connected. It feels like an intimate listening experience. I mostly gravitated towards the sort of lo-fi type stuff, particularly tracks like Betty. I just thought the subject matter was really interesting too. Like connecting with historical and brown artists caused me to think and go to places that I don't go to every day. So it was an interesting experience in that way. It's not something I would naturally gravitate towards the album, but I would and now have multiple times put it on in the background as I'm working or doing things around the house. So it does really groove. And I was just kind of looking into it. It did get #1 on Exclaim's 10 Best Soul, Funk, and World Albums 2019. And so considering it's her second album, that's pretty impressive.
Please fill me in on Exclaim, because I've never heard of this before.
I think it's just I think it's exclusively online publication, or is it print as well? I don't know, but I think it's been around for a long time.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Two things right quick. One, I want to start a petition to remove the genre of world. There is no world. If you say that it's world, then you are signifying that America is the center of the sun or of the universe, and that everything else is world.
I mean, you're right. There's 2 genres. There's music and there's Canadian, and we can push that.
Yes, yeah. There's Gord Downey and there's everybody else. But yeah, getting back to the album in particular, I didn't write down where it happens in the album, but one production choice that I really liked is when they paired her voice with like this. I don't know if they just brought her down an octave along with her regular voice, but it was like this really low, sort of distorted track to go along with it, and I found that very satisfying. This kind of filled the room whenever you were listening to it. Yeah.
Any last thoughts on Legacy before we wrap this one up? Okay. I am going to listen to some of her other stuff, just to be a little bit more fair. Zach, give us your score, your favorite, and your least favorite.
Well, you should listen to Practice Start there. Just for
Okay.
the Iverson
Deal.
stuff. Yeah. It's Saba and I get too. So I give this a 9.7. So one of my favorite records of the past decade. And my favorite song has changed over time because I have taken this in a lot. And I think because what you said, Bart, as the energy starts to rise from like the beginning for the first 5 songs, I think that was you that said that, but is now that once it gets to Sonya, I'm just like fucking pumping with energy. And I do really like, that's the one time that lyrically I have like embraced a little bit. And I think it's a great verse. And it's kind of turns with feminism, I think are smart. And the way it's dealt with. So that's my favorite. And my least favorite, I forgot because I had to write in notes, is Octavia. I can't tell you remember why I picked that out of out of those things, but that's the least impactful for me in memory. I need to read Octavia Butler though, instead of listening to this.
Brooklyn.
I'm gonna give this an 8.75. Like I said, like when we're rating these in terms of like an album, front to back, it is great. I think that's where it excels the most. My favorite is Basquiat. How do you pronounce it? Basquiat? Yeah. If you've been listening to the show for a long time, you know I'm an absolute sucker for call and answer, and I love when they do it. I think it has the most personality of the album, and like that's the song where I most believe that that they're having fun recording it, and just kind of like whether it's writing or arrangement and whatnot. My least favorite, unfortunately, is Miles. That's the only one that I didn't like love her voice. And the example that I give on that, I didn't like how she ended the lines on the chorus. There was like a weird sort of like fuzziness to it that didn't make sense. It just seemed kind of odd. But that's the only sort of thing that I found.
I'm gonna go next. I'm giving it a flat 7 because I recognize that there are great elements to it. It's just there were some things that for some reason I just could not get pulled into to truly enjoy them. My least favorite song, I'm going to start there, is Sun Ra, and that's solely because that's the one song that kind of slips too much into the background for me. My favorite track easily, though, is Giovanni. Like, I thought that there's such an energy and a life behind that song. I immediately added it to my workout playlist. So I'd probably go with that one for my favorite. Josh, let's go to you.
I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I did enjoy it. I probably won't put it on again. I think I could do with or without it, kind of thing. But I think all things considered, it is what I would consider to be an excellent album. So, I do want to give it some credit where credit is deserved. My favorite song was Betty, and I don't know if this counts, but my least favorite was Betty for Boogie, because it was just the club remix version of a song that I did like.
All right. And Dan, let's go to you to close this one out.
Giving this one an 8, just an 8 here. I loved Basquiat. I thought that was best song, or my most enjoyable song on the album. And then I'm with Josh here, that Betty for Boogie. It was a bit abrasive, and it just kind of wasn't my jam. Wasn't really vibing with that one.
All right. So, Brooklyn, where does that put us average-wise?
That puts at a score of 8.19. Currently sits at the 15 spot for this season. Right now, currently just above Anchors Away, Bouncing Souls, the one that Bill brought up last month, but just shy of Carnival of the Animals, Camille St. John's. It's not quite as good as a great orchestral album.
The fact that the classical album is continuously popping up on the show as being the one that's just above whatever we just talked about is absolutely incredible.
Listen. If you submit an album that has songs that were part of either Fantasia or Fantasia 2000, that is immediately like an 8+.
Rules are rules, I guess. All right. So we are going to be going to Dan next. Let's do a little change here. Dan, tell us more about the Lola versus ellipsis by the Kinks.
Yeah, so Lola, we can just call it Lola. It at this point in the Kinks' career, they hadn't really had a huge hit for like 3 years. They had a couple of songs that did well, but they didn't have a major hit. Toward like I think 67 was their last big one, and they were at risk of just kind of being lost to like, oh, they're just another one of those 60s bands that kind of stayed in that decade. And this was really the album that kind of kicked them into the 70s, the new decade, and really kind of cemented, you know, a really big they made a lot of things happen early on, but this is one that kind of prevented them from being lost for a bit, I think. It is a little bit of a concept album, so it kind of just bashes capitalism and the music industry and all of its players. It's essentially about somebody that wants more than what life has to offer, but then they learn at what cost. So like throughout it, Denmark Street, Get Back in Line, Top of the Pops, and Moneygoround. It seems a bit wacky here and there. All of those are kind of supposed to depict the struggle of the band trying to make a success in this corrupt industry. And it's so interesting because the almost the title track Lola was such a big hit for them that they, after this album came out, they were able to build their own recording studio where they could get away from at least some of the parts of that industry. So it's a dear favorite of mine.
I saw this pop up on your TikTok of 10 albums that I can't live without, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I was really excited when you brought this one on. Because I only knew Lola. I didn't know a single other song off of this album.
Yep.
And Lola is a song that I had kind of gone back and forth for like years, whether I liked or thought had aged well, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm on the band of it's aged incredibly well now.
Yes.
I, on first listen, I really liked this album. On second listen, because I try to give every album at least 2 listens, I fell in love with this album.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There is so many aspects of this album that I absolutely, truly adore. Like, first time through, all the songs that were kind of like skiffle songs, at first I was like, I kind of hate this. And then second through, I actually got to pay attention more to the lyrics. And the snotty, just like, I hate this industry kind of feel to them, combined with that style, I thought worked so perfectly. Especially during Denmark Street when he's like doing the voice of the publisher, where he's like, your hair's too long, but I'll sign you up because I'd hate to be wrong. You got to tune in your head. You want to get it placed, so you take it down to a Music Man just to see what he'll say.
Yeah.
It's just like, I love the attitude that they took with stuff like that. Top of the Pops was such an interesting find for me.
Okay.
Because like the storytelling throughout the song, just like the way that they kind of like weave how time works in that, it was absolutely great. And then you had like a 1-2 punch of This Time Tomorrow and A Long Way From Home, which hit me so much more effectively than I kind of was expecting it to. Ray Davies' voice is just so expressive that he's just such an interesting frontman. But the thing that I actually really love the most about this album, aside from the storytelling and like the way that they kind of weave all of these songs together, were like the piano and the drums. Mick Avery's drumming in particular, I was so thoroughly impressed with. I had not kind of seen him as like when I thought of like the best drummers of all time, my head never went to, oh, who's the guy from the Kinks? But after listening to this album, I'm like, I need to listen to like more of the drum work from this guy. It's incredible. So I'm so happy that you brought this one on, Dan.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I like this. I think it was a good time. I think there's a good mix of things all over the place. I like Denmark Streak. It was very kind of like Ringo-esque, and like Andrew was mentioning, like with the piano and the drums. I think it's definitely sort of like of its time, and it's definitely like, let's take everything that we love about like 60s, not necessarily pop, but like I guess 60s sort of like Americana folk, and kind of carry that into the 70s with these sort of new ideologies. One thing that I will say, and I am kind of curious as to what everyone else thinks. I kind of want to rearrange this, but in particular, I want to put Lola and 8-Man back to back, because I feel like that would be such a good 1-2 punch, just because of how similar they are. But then like as you get into like Top of the Pops, and then especially like my favorite song as well, it gets really rocky. Top of the Pops is good. Powerman is a great closer. And then yeah, like the Contenders as well. It could, like, the opener really almost throws you for a loop, because it starts as this like bluegrassy sort of thing, and I threw it on initially, and I'm like, wait a minute here, this is not what I know what Kinks for. Like, these guys got really famous to the point where Weird Al parodied one of their songs. Why are they doing bluegrass? And it gets in, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
I think I knew but forgot how much this album means to Dan, and I wish I would have remembered that and just given it a bit more attention. But I love how so many 60s, 70s bands wrote songs, or in this case, entire albums, about how shitty the music industry was.
And we didn't listen. We kept going.
I don't know what's up, but it also makes me wonder how the hell they all got away with it. Like, I hear that and I'm like, how the hell did that get past, quality control? And how did it get approved? Yeah, a lot of bands did it. It's good. Obviously, Lola is a classic. The only other Kinks song that I really listened to a lot, not from this album, is Stormy Sky. Other than that, I wasn't really familiar with them, so I was excited to dive in. I agree with what Andrew was saying about how there are some deep messages and musical movements throughout that, after an initial listen, hit you quite hard. And then talking about it aging well, I feel like parts of this album kind of have a 2000s indie rock sound to me. I think it's the dryness of the guitars and vocals. I thought that was really unique. Top of the Pops is one of those where I kind of picked that out. So I don't know if anyone else feels similarly to that, but yeah, I feel like I should have a bit more to say about this one, considering it's also from the era of music that I listen to the most. But to be honest, I just haven't done my official Kinks deep dive yet.
You might have cracked the code for me, because 2000s indie rock is the most important music to me, and the Kinks are my favorite band of the 60s. And now I'm
that's
maybe
awesome.
This is why Something Else and Village Green Preservation Society are 2 10 out of 10 perfect albums to me. They're very important ones. This is really the end of the 4 album run that is what I'm attached to with the Kinks. Those are the 4 that I would go to, and that does, I think, capture the transition point of them into the 70s in the sound, because Something Else and Village Green are very, very silly. in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of goofy, a lot of playfulness, and they dabble in it here, but they're going to a little more of a rocker sound, a larger sound, and so it's like still quirky in a lot of ways, but it also seems like they are just trying to get back into the radio good graces. I don't mean that as like a negative, but becoming something more of a modern rock band, away from the acidy late 60s that they all went through. But I have a great time. Lola, you could have told me Lola and Father Christmas were as popular as any other song when I was a kid. For some reason, I feel like they played all the time, even though Christmas is only 1 month a year. But Father Christmas and Lola were just everywhere. And I learned a lot from Lola. I'm always very, very nervous re-listening to Lola every time. I'm like, how is this going to age? This can't be good, even though I know how the song is, and it really doesn't age that bad. And that's like, I think, a really kind of special thing for tackling on subject matter, in 1971. But it's kind of a rad song and kind of a fun story, I must say, with it. But I think they also have some of their less goofy songs that are my favorite, like Stranger. I think it is a beautiful song.
Yeah, that one. That one is beautiful. That one took me very off guard, considering what had led into that one. Yeah,
it's Stranger and Denmark Street back to back. I think it is really where that sound is kind of moving forward in the way that I love to. Because some of the quirk is gone.
I do want to talk about Lola just real fast, because having listened to it for this show made me realize how incredibly produced that song is.
Oh yeah.
Like every instrument is just so clear and like so distinctive, and the way that it builds and builds and builds into like this explosion at the end, where his voice is starting to get even like raspier and gravelier. It's just like it took me so off guard because I've never really listened to it thinking about that before, but it's just so impressively produced.
Last thing, or I'll kind of hop on to the Lola train. One thing that I do like is that sort of like the kind of I guess it's like the pre-chorus, or I guess like the kind of the end of the verse where they like the Beatles that did this really well, but they also do it really well in this song where what's the word I'm looking for? They change one note basically, and it kind of does this nice descent. Like they just change from like I think it's from from like an A major to an A minor, and I love that little change because it just adds a little bit of a bend, and then it kind of resets to go right into the verse. One thing I think gets overlooked in this song is the bass line, because everybody thinks of like the guitar, the drums, and then that melody, but that bass is kind of just holding the groove of it and whatnot, especially when you get into that bridge and like the big booming sort of drums.
Does anyone else get the vibes that they kind of modeled the build of that song after Hey Jude? Because it kind of has that sing-along of,
let's not do this, Bar. Let's not do this. This is do it.
I'm not saying
I think part of my Kinks fandom started in parody. Like it was me just being an asshole, being like in the Stones versus Beatles debate, like the really actually.
Right.
And I think it delved into sincerity over time, and I really started to mean kind of what I was saying.
That's because they are truly the best band.
They're all playing in the same sandbox, is all I'm saying. No one's stealing anything. They're all within the same.
Yeah, some just have better toys in that box.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dan, this is your album. You start us off with your score, your favorite and your least favorite.
It's a dear album to me. I love this. Every time I listen to it, I've got to go front to back. I'll put it at a 9. Favorite is Denmark Street. As I said before, I when I was even in London, I went to Denmark Street to see what it was like. there's one big guitar store there and like a record shop, and it's literally just a block long. It's kind of wild to imagine all the hubbub and the bustling pieces of the music industry there at that time. Least favorite's really hard to pick, but I think like as much as I love it, and as much as I love what it's saying, I think Moneygoround's probably one of the ones. If I'm in a pinch, I'll hop past just because it's just a little too quirky. You know, sometimes I want to feel strangers, and not feel strangers.
Yeah, this is the internet. You can get away with saying almost anything here.
Okay.
Let's go to Zach.
So I will give it a 8.9. So it's not up to my 2 favorite Kinks albums, but I still really love them. There's a lot what I like about them. My favorite song is Strangers. It's moving up my list of one of my favorite songs by them. And my least favorite is also Moneygoround. They can like dabble in circusry and their sound like circus whimsy throughout time, and this one just goes full force into the circle whimsy to where I can't like take it serious at all, like even at 1%. It's just too silly in its sound. So
Brooklyn.
Just real quick, Dan, you gave that a 9, you said?
A 9, yeah.
9. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm giving this an 8. I think it's good, and then like Dan, when you were talking about the lyrics, I think that gives me the interest to go back to it and kind of see all the stories in it. My favorite is Rats. That's where I love the rock elements of it. You have the big booming 60s-esque drums with the like, all right, 70s now are going to be about guitars and more riffs and jams and licks, and go off of that. I think a Canadian band, April Wine, loves the hell out of that song, and I think they're heavily influenced by it. My least favorite, I will also continue the Moneygoround train. It is Moneygoround.
Wow.
What I had in my notes is like carousel-esque. As we were listening to it while Dan was talking to it, I definitely got the lyrical sense. There is some phrases there that I could see that there is a story there. But like Andrew has said, I think it was on like 500 Takes, like how the do Ron, like they could almost like hypnotize you into like driving into a ditch. That's how I feel with Moneygoround. It's like, okay, we're just gonna swerve right.
Clown car.
Yeah.
Damn, I actually really like Moneygoround.
Yeah, I like Moneygoround too.
All right, good. I'm not alone on this.
It's a good one. I just had to pick a bad one.
We haven't listened to it enough times, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I haven't gotten hypnotized by the swirling carnival lights. So I'm giving this a 9.5.
Wow.
That's fair.
That's big.
And I'll start with my least because of this. I'm listening through on the second listen, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what I would even pick for a least favorite. I'd like, all of these are great. I'm loving all of this. And then 8-Man hits, and I'm like, that's the one.
Oh,
that's the one. I could not. Hey, look, we all wear different shoes. That is the one that I'm like, I appreciate this one. It's just Brooklyn will understand what I mean by this. It's the secondhand news of this album, where I think that it's still good, but I just don't think it's quite up to par.
Hey, no. We don't diss secondhand news. We don't diss one of the greatest.
I already
openers.
did it on the last time we talked about the album, Brooklyn.
Well, I'm still mad at you for bringing it up again in this context.
Rumors is not a 10 out of 10 album solely because of that one song, and I stand by it.
Well, you can be wrong a couple of times.
Was Dan on the Rumors show?
No, he wasn't actually.
That's a good thing.
No comment.
Ooh, I'll get this after the call. So real quick, I'm gonna go with my favorite. This Time Tomorrow. That one caught me so off guard, but just like the melody, the production, and as I said, the piano and the drums, like when those really kick in, it makes the song super special to me. And we're gonna go to Josh to close it out.
All right. I gave the album an 8 out of 10. Definitely want to spend more time with it. There's definitely something there for me for sure. For favorite song, As to Not Just Say Lola, Strangers is my next favorite. And my least favorite, I hope I'm not pissing off the community here, but my least favorite, I put Long Way From Home, because I just no, Dan, no, guys, please come back. Please. I haven't even gotten to my line yet.
That would have been out of context, that would have been perfect if Dan and Andrew were in the same room, or they were in the same building, and they both just walked up. Just an absolute mindfuck.
It's been awesome. I just felt like it sounded like a Badfinger song to me. I don't want to say Badfinger ripoff. I got to be polite here, but that was the vibe I got from it. And that's, I don't even know if that's a reason to say it's my least favorite song, but I had to pick one. You know how it is.
I mean, you have to pick one, so I'm not going to get too mad about that, I guess. I don't know how Dan feels, though. Brooklyn, what does that bring the average score to?
Average score of 8.68. Currently just inside the top 10 for the season. Slightly better than Fiona Apple's Fetched and Bolt Cutters, but not quite as good as Wide Awake from Parquet Courts.
Good company.
Yeah, that's great company. All right, Josh, we're going to go to you. Tell us more about Woman Love.
Okay, so for the the album is named after the Gene Vincent track, and I'll say more about that later. But so Burton Cummings, for those who don't know, is the lead singer of the Guess Who. Songs like American Woman, These Eyes, and not a lot of people realize he got a successful solo career afterwards. The Guess Who was one of those bands where they had a lot of hits, they were on the radio, and they were huge in that sense, but people didn't necessarily know them for their individual names. And so when Burton went solo, in Canada it was massive, and in the US he had a fair bit of radio hits, but people weren't like, oh, Burton Cummings is this big name, because he was in some weird way still like unknown. So this album, Woman Love 1980, was at the height of his career. However, the US release ended up falling through because Epic Records wanted him to make some changes. And by that time, Burton was producing all of his own albums, and he wasn't willing to give up his creative liberties. And so Epic US was just like, okay, we're not putting it out. And he never found I don't know if he couldn't find one, or if he just didn't attempt to find a roundabout way to release it in the US. Maybe there was some contractual stuff there. But anyways, so it was a huge album in Canada. And I think it's notable for the turn of the 80s. You can tell he's experimenting with those synths. Definitely trying some new sounds, resulting in quite a varying album track by track, which I think is one of the multiple reasons Epic had issues with it. Most importantly, it did boast the Canadian smash hit Fine State of Affairs, which I am convinced if that did come out in the US, that would have dramatically changed how his career went out in the US in the 80s, because after that point he did start to fade out south of the border. And so yeah, it's one of those, for Burton Cummings fans, it's one of those, theoretically, if this came out, he'd probably be a lot bigger still. Anyways, so it's a cool album for that. And yeah, I didn't really go through track by track because this was my own album. I kind of just wanted to hear what everyone else had to say. I feel like for me, the story was important.
I'll go first as the resident Canadian. I need to make a confession. Up until high school, I thought Burton Cummings were two people.
My stepmom said the same thing.
I thought it was like Hall & Oates.
Like a film,
and then I found out. I think it was like at the end of high school. It's like, nope, Burton Cummings is one person. But yeah, got a lot of radio play. Fine State of Affairs is the big single. I really think that his peak was actually My Own Way to Rock. That's my favorite song that ever came out of him. One of the greatest intros to like this like rockin', like really like 50s rock and roll sort of song, I think ever. This album though, I am very conflicted, because I think when he shines, it's really, really good. I think there's one genre in particular that he just sort of smashes out of the park, and that's yacht rock and like these yacht sort of ballads. And I think what I like about him so much is that he's best when he is dynamic, when he goes back and forth. We were talking about like comparing vocalists to instruments. Burton Cummings sounds like a saxophone had a voice. There's this raspiness kind of to it, and it works in some sense. But I think when he tries to stay in that low register or that middle sort of range, it just doesn't quite work for me. I think the second half of this is like okay. I Do My Vocals on the Boat is an okay closer. Where Are You is like one of the better like kind of yacht rock ones. Heavenly Blue is a nice ballad. Feels All Wrong is a good opener, especially with that synth. That's where I get where you were saying, Josh, where it's like, all right, like these are sort of the ideas that we're going to carry into the 80s. From there, Fine State of Affairs is also a really good single. I like how the guitar sort of accents, and then I like his ad-libbing, I guess, as he moves into the end of the chorus in the song, and then the sax is basically like just icing on the cake during that. But yeah, it's good, it's bad, it's in between. I would say that.
It's a classic 80s sax solo, hey?
Yes,
Some might say one of the first of the 80s. It was 1980 sharp. I should have specified. So Vocals on the Boat and Daddy's on the Road are like bonus tracks on Spotify, but they don't list like that. So because I think those are like pretty weak tracks, I didn't include them in my rating. But
oh, okay.
Well, that does change things a bit for me then.
All right.
Anyone else want to go? Because I
was just want to say you guys are Canadian so hard, and I'm honestly a little bit jealous. So I couldn't smell here, and you guys are having a great time about Burton Cummings.
Love Burton Cummings.
Okay, Burt and Cummings, as we all know. I when you posted this, took me like 5 minutes to take it serious because we have Woman Love and he's like playing piano in a woman's vagina and his last name is Cummings and I can't be coincidental, and I just kind of hated it from the start. I was like, this should not be allowed. I don't need a guy named Cummings singing Woman Love. But it's not what that made me think it was. It was like it's a legit soft rock album. It's such a ridiculous title and cover. I don't know how they decided that should be what goes on it. It's trying to add edge to something that doesn't really have edge. They're trying to make it cool.
That album cover's bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I messaged Andrew a couple hours
watch
before,
where
and I
you're
was
putting
like,
that
this
piano.
album cover's bad. I'm not crazy.
They should have made the piano more dick-shaped. Like, they didn't even embrace it enough. It was like, it's a weird shape to go into a vagina and got worried about, like,
they didn't want to make it too overt.
Yeah.
And this is why you have Zach Ford on the program.
I probably have said vagina every time I've appeared on your show. Anyways, I do have to get some disclaimer that I was getting this in this afternoon. Normally, like, I get home from school, the kids will be fine. They were not having it today. They were very needy. They were against me paying any attention to something that wasn't done. So my attention wasn't fully with it. So it kind of blended in the background, and that's like my hate against is nothing stuck out for me. To me, it just sounded like rock of the time. Blended up. I know everything that sounds like something generic always is not if you give it more time and space and you find the subtleties. I just didn't have that. So it was like fine. And the one thing that stuck out because it's so different was the song Woman Love, and I hated it. And it should have been for me because he's just like mumbling into a mic, and I think that's really funny.
That is Zach Core. That is such Zach Core.
And it's like semi-scatting at times. It's like when he goes pop,
Yes,
pop. but it like never goes anywhere. The energy of the rest of it just dies on the vine for me.
Dan, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So years ago, Josh actually got me into the Guess Who and related artists, but I had never really known much from them, let alone any solo Burton stuff. There's obviously a lot to talk about on that album cover some of which we've discussed already, but he's also missing his iconic mustache too, which was kind of mind blowing. Yeah. It's just barefaced Burton there,
Babyface Burton.
Babyface Burton, woman love. So yeah, don't hate me, Josh. I'm not gonna get too hard on this.
Hey,
I love Burton. I think he's a fantastic songwriter. There's siren, sorry. I love his voice. I think he is a very beautiful lyricist. In general, this one feels a bit too 80s for me. Soft rock with 80s sax and synths are kind of like my kryptonite. And that is just like a lot of this album. I'm like, okay, I hear what he's doing. I'm reading the lyrics. Yeah.
Real quick, just to interrupt, because that makes me so happy that I picked the album that I picked instead of the one that I had almost picked.
Okay, good.
Which was Christopher Cross's self-titled.
Oh, there are some very small exceptions, but yeah, it's just not really my general jam. I did find some stuff I liked. Where Are You felt like his version of a Barry White song, which I just thought, I know from you, like he goes into phases where he hyperfixates on an artist and he does a Jim Morrison song or kind of leans into different styles of people that he idolizes. So I don't know if that's what he was doing there, but that's just what I had in my head. But wasn't fully for me, I'll say.
Is what it is.
I'm so sorry, Josh.
So hearing that those songs were not the end of this album and that Waking Up Today is actually the last song of this album does change things for me. Because I really dig most of this album. I really enjoy most of this album. I think it's got a great 1-2 punch of an opening with Feels All Wrong and One and Only. Mile a Second kind of does feel like the bridge era Billy Joel, which not a bad thing. I like the bridge era Billy Joel, but it is a little, it's on the weaker side of Billy Joel, to be honest. And then we get into Heavenly Blue took me off guard because I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the term cod reggae. A good example would be
Andrew,
UB40.
Andrew, cod's a fish.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you salt it and then you put it in the potatoes and stuffing. It's called fish and brews. And a wonderful Newfoundland dish, but cod reggae
from the U.S.
If UB40 is cod reggae, then Vulfpeck is cod funk.
What?
That's equivalent.
Are we just combining words now?
Don't be confused with the other fish. Nope.
So we could also do halibut reggae or I don't know.
No. We're using a lesser known. We're using a lesser quality fish. It's going to be hake rockabilly.
Let's really shake it up and go with snails.
Disco snails.
But basically, what I was getting into is that I'm normally not a fan of the stiff white reggae kind of sound, but it kind of works on this one because there's a genuine sincerity behind this performance that I really, really loved, and the little piano flourishes in that. I will say, following up a song called Woman Love with a song called It's Hard, got to have been on purpose. And
What's
that
hard, Burton? What?
his
He
piano.
knows what his
piece,
name is,
obviously.
right? He knows his name is Cummings, and he needs to avoid this trap.
I will say there's two sides of Burton on this album. There is like the loungy, yachty kind of like slow jam kind of side. Once again the kind of almost what a fool believes kind of side, and then there's kind of like the Sun Records kind of rockabilly side. That side I didn't particularly love. So whenever he did kind of slip into that, Tennessee, Alabama kind of like 50s-esque sound, I was not really digging that. The other side, which is a majority of the album, thank goodness, I really did like a lot. I enjoyed it very much. Any last thoughts on this album before we move on, though? Doesn't seem like it. All right, Josh, give us your score, your favorite song and your least favorite song from this album.
I knew this was going to be an interesting one, and I knew I was going to rank it higher than everyone because I'm biased. But I did that intentionally. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the cover and trying to figure out what's going on there. I used to think she was sitting on a toilet for a while.
That makes
like
it
the
worse.
tiles feel like a bathroom floor.
It's very much bathroom floor.
It is very much.
Is she huge or is he little?
and I'll say really quick, the inner sleeve is also just like odd choices. So that they went to this park and they brought a model, and the model shows up to the photo shoot, all dressed up in makeup and hair done. And they go, "Here you go," and it's a paper bag. And so the two sides of the inner sleeve are Burton and this model frolicking about a garden she has a paper bag over her head. She never got a reason why or anything. She didn't have
the way
a
he likes them.
There's no context to this.
There's some context.
There's a little bit of context, yeah.
I mean, the bonus track called Fugly Face.
Yeah. So, yeah, I knew it would be an interesting, fun one to bring to the table anyways. So my rating, because I'm biased, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I love listening to it. It's a fun listen for me. And my least favorite song is the title track, Woman Love, the Gene Vincent cover. I don't know why he put it on there and named the entire album off of it. I've seen some clips of him doing it live in the 80s too, and it just feels like he loses the audience there.
I'm going to assume that they did album cover first and then matched the name to
yeah. But yeah, he's an old school guy. Like his idols are from like mostly from the 50s, and he wears it on his shirt for sure. My favorite song, aside from the obvious Fine State of Affairs, which is a great song, is Waking Up Today. It's a real deep cut. Real deep cut. And I just love his vocal take, I think. I just love the textures in his vocals there. And I think the album has a lot of deep cuts. So that's
Thank
me.
God I'm going last. Brooklyn.
All right, I will give this a 6.8. Like I said earlier, I think where he excels, he excels really well. My favorite song is "Got to Be Mine," and that's where I was alluding to, where he's really excels in yacht rock. If we had to rank every song from all 5 albums individually,
Had to be you. Sorry, you mean Had to Be You?
Yes, it had to. Yes. Why did I put "Got to Be Mine"? That's not it at all. Yeah, no, that's not it at all. It's One and Only.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking. Oh, I was on the wrong album. That's why.
Were you dead before this recording?
No, I was not. No, I can't do that because then I blank much harder. But no, yeah, for some reason it was on Notes for Dot. No, it's One and Only. That's my favorite song of all 5 albums that we have. I was listening to it again on the drive home from work last night, and I was like legitimately singing along with it. I just love the big sort of payoff in that chorus. It's very like Hall and Oatesy, just good, clean fun. My least favorite, I think it's going to be the consensus one, is Woman Love, and that's just like, it's a big swing and a miss. It's like, I see a sweeper away. We're gonna try to make contact with it, and we're gonna look really silly.
Zach, you are muted, my friend.
We did pretty well.
Thank you. I'm gonna give it a 5.4. Because it's just middle of the road for me. My favorite song was also One and Only. It did have this like soft rock slow dance romanticism that just kind of could be a sucker for sometimes. And once again, the kind of cheesy quality that I like, I was kind of there.
That's a love-making song.
It's also really, it's a love-making song. It's also a really funny song to get deeply involved in when the kids are causing chaos around. It's one of those good contradictory scores for it. And then my least favorite's Woman Love. Dumbass track.
All right, so let's go to no, Mr. Producer Man. No, we're not doing this joke. We're not doing
that's
this
not
joke.
even the right banner, Mr. Producer Man. We've had a banner for years.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, we're gonna go to you.
First of all, we can all agree he's got to put the piano back in his pants. I'm giving this a 6. My favorite was Where Are You? Just because I think that's definitely one of the ones that stuck out to me the most. Feels All Wrong truly did, and so that one's my least favorite.
Yeah. So, Josh, I was making that face earlier because you and I are at absolute lockstep throughout. Score, favorite song, least favorite song. We hit the exact same notes. It's an 8 for me. Least favorite song being the title track. Favorite song being Waking Up Today. Because I love songs like that. Easy by the Commodores. Sunday Morning Coming Down by Chris Christopherson. That kind of like, you just woke up, weariness, but there's like, that little sense of hope in there, and you're just going to take the rest of the day as easy as possible. Loved that one. I'm so happy that actually is the actual closing to this album, because it bumped it up from a 7.5 to an 8 solely because of that.
Hell yeah. We needed that 0.5.
Hell yeah, we did. Brooklyn, you are also muted.
Dan, what did you give it for score again?
That was a 6.
6? Okay. Equals divided by that number. 6.84. Currently, it is top 35 out of 45. It is in between.
I unmuted just to laugh at his positivity about. Don't worry, it's top 35 out of 45. We're in the pure top 75%.
I mean, like,
Sorry,
it's only 2 spots below. It's only 2 spots below Dot. Starfire is slightly better than it, but this album is slightly better than Horror Show by Iced Earth, a great metal concept album.
That was really that low, really?
Yeah, I mean, like, like those are all like mid 6s. Like our lowest album this year is a 5.7. So we don't have anything like truly awful like we did with the first show, even the band Camino and Honey and Ray of Light that all have objectively negative scores.
Yeah, we gave Ray of Light by Madonna a pretty bad average.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
You need to revisit.
Well, we're gonna have Jake Maragoni back on soon, so
We are, yeah.
he promised us something special, and I'm guessing it's gonna be Vogue.
I don't think I think it's gonna be Fatboy Slim.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go to my album next. This is gonna be last. I'm gonna do the thing. I haven't done the thing in a while.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
So, Breakfast in America by Supertramp. Hell yeah! Hell yeah, brother. Ooh. So I knew some of the songs off this album already beforehand. Most classic rock stations will play them. Like, if you haven't heard the logical song "Goodbye Stranger," "Breakfast in America," "The Long Way Home," then you've never driven in the car with your dad before. And so I went to a garage sale, and it may have been an estate sale even a few years ago, where they had 2 crates of albums, one post 1980 and one pre 1980. The pre 1980 ones were $2 each. So I rummaged through that. I found Cold Spring Harbor by Billy Joel. In the post 80s, I think it was the post 81, I found Auto Americans by Blondie, and I found this. And I already knew all those songs I had mentioned. I was a huge fan of Breakfast in America in particular at the time. So I bought it for $2. I took it back to my place, immediately put it on my record player, and just absolutely fell in love with this album. It's one of those ones that it's under an hour, which is the perfect amount of length for this, because if it was any longer, songs probably would have started to bleed into each other a little bit more. Just the parallel of the vocals. They were just both incredible singers. Ray Davies, in particular, to timestamp this, passed away just like a few days before we recorded this, which was such a shock to me. But I love their experimentation more than anything, like their willingness to take chances. Like, to make a song like Breakfast in America, which is essentially like klezmer rock in a sense, I still can't think of another song that reminds me of it. And for songs like Lord Is It Mine and Oh Darling, just to be just sitting there and just being like these beautiful epic pieces while still being kind of like simplistic in a way that it's not it still grabs your attention in a beautiful way. And then to end on Child of Vision, which is just like this really proggy piece. I don't even really know how to describe this band because there's so many different genres that they kind of like tinkered with on this. It's absolutely a fantastic album that I highly recommend people buy if you haven't. But I want to hear what everyone else's thoughts are on this album.
Has anybody listened to this album before?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody has. Okay, perfect. I'll go near the end because I've been leading a lot. So.
Okay. Who wants to go first then?
I'll go. Just again, rest in peace to Rick Davies. That was
Rick Davies. God damn it.
was shocker. And for what it's worth, I brought this too. I just didn't know we were doing that. So, amazing album cover. One, I think it's one of the best album covers of all time. It's iconic. It's up there with some Pink Floyd albums, some Beatles albums, as like what album it is the second you see it, obviously. Front half is banger after banger. I think it's really stacked on the front half. It starts to lose my interest on the B-side just a bit. I love this album. I think it's a great one. But I think it is a little front heavy for me. In a good way. Also the 9/11 conspiracy about I think the album cover predicted 9/11. If you look at the
it's not a conspiracy if it's the truth.
Yeah, because it's one of those things Where like even if you take the album sleeve and you pair it like right next to it, it does the thing.
Wait, what thing?
Yeah, if you take the sleeve because it's got the jet here, and if you
Oh,
line
yeah.
it perfectly
Oh,
with
man.
it.
Yeah, you can totally do that, huh?
Wild.
I've never noticed the airplane before. That's actually very interesting.
That
Mhm.
was my thing. I couldn't remember if there was actually something, other element like that.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the orange juice represented.
It represents the sweet taste of America.
Oh, right. Florida.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Let's go. I'm gonna get Josh to go next on this one.
Okay. I also have the top of my notes, Rip Rick Davies. It's kind of like Band on the Run. The day of the 50th anniversary of Band on the Run, what's his name? Denny died. Denny Lane. It's crazy. Anyways, yeah, so this one is an awesome listen. It's a very nostalgic one for me. It's funny. I think, Andrew, you mentioned the thing about if you've ever been in the car with your dad, you've heard this album. So the reason Supertramp in general is special to me is because so my dad grew up hiking a lot with his dad, and this was the one band they could kind of like together because they're from different generations, obviously, and so that kind of became like also what we would listen to when we went on hiking trips and stuff like that. So, and I actually saw Roger Hodgson years back with him in Calgary, and it was awesome. So for their most famous album, it's one I still don't own for some reason. I had a Mexican copy in my hands at one point, and then I sold it, and I feel like I should have kept it. I don't know, but it's one of those albums that are just smashes all the way through. It has 4 huge songs. Did it have 5 singles, or was it just 4?
I want to say it was 5 because I think they released "Oh Darling" as a single. I'll double
Yeah,
check
there
that.
was another one too. I thought might have been, but yeah, I also have a note about the album cover as well. And it's one of those things. This is like my generation for sure. You won't pick up all the details in the album cover until you hold an LP in your hands. If you grew up discovering this music through Spotify, you're not getting the album cover at all. So yeah, it's another iconic thing about it. And overall, I just love that Supertramp electric piano sound that they have across all of their music. It's just so good. However, I will say that sometimes Supertramp's arrangements, which are here on songs like "Gone Hollywood," they get a little excessive, in my opinion. Um, it's one of those albums, if you're not listening like attentively, it can be a little overwhelming, crazy, and like I got to turn the volume down so I can have a conversation here alongside the music. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
I just realized the Rick Davies connection, and you guys,
Yeah.
big missed opportunity. You're 3 songs away from a magical Davies night. We could have had it. Very fertile ground. All the
Trying to think of any other Davies that.
You can think about that for the rest of the time I talk. You owe me a listen.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Get back to me.
Okay.
So Supertramp was very important to my mom. So first of all, sexist as fuck. Andrew saying in your dad's car. My mom was blasting Supertramp all the time.
That's just who I am, Zach. That's just who I am.
And it's one of the bands that to her, like, she brings up to me, like, she has never talked about it before. So every time it's like, oh man, Supertramp, they're great. And so that I haven't listened to it as an adult until now. Because to me that's mom's music. And I got very nervous at the beginning because the first song I think has the proggiest parts of it, and you get their they have a history with prog rock before this, and I'm like, this is not what I remember from the songs I know. But I feel like they do have a little more of a pop sensibility carried through after that, and I think that kind of the progginess walks away. I don't need to get a big thing about why I'm so allergic to prog rock, but I am, it avoids that and finds something to me that is more emotional and relatable than I would ever relate to prog rock. And there's some grooves. There's a lot of songs I remember as a child. They held up. I love Logical Song. I love Goodbye Stranger. I kind of forgot about how much I love Goodbye Stranger, and the Frankie Valli-ness of it, I think, is just very fun. Maybe I'm a sucker for goofy falsettos. In the end, you said is when the prog was with Child Vision, but that to me was not prog. That had a real just jam to it, which is different than look what I'm doing. Prog rock is the theater kids of the rock world. They're real look at me, look what I can do.
Someone get David Jimenez up along, please.
But I feel like at the end, it's not that. It is something that it seems like they're more lost in the vibe of the jam, which is different than me, for me. So I really enjoyed the end.
Yeah. So I love this album. I think this is. I was trying to think of what number to give, but it's probably a top 50 album all time. We were talking in one of the chats, I think about 80s and 70s, and we got into a discussion, and I remember bringing up that 1979. I don't think it's necessarily the best year for albums, but I think it's one of the most important years for albums, and this is the example. Because if you asked 100 casual music listeners what year this came out, or even what decade came out, they're oh, this is an 80s album. But no, it's 79. And like Josh was saying, it's because of that electric piano, and it's of that arrangement and the production. I think the bookends of this album are incredible. I love the prog rockiness of it, especially Gone Hollywood. Just a great sort of intro, kind of just setting the tone and the atmosphere for what's to come. Breakfast in America, I think, is just whimsical in the right ways. I think it's the clarinet that kind of comes in during kind of swings with the vocals coming on the end. Logical Song has I know we've been talking about sax solos all night, but just a great sax solo at the end, considering how mellow that song kind of is for the most part, and it really just kind of ramps up near the end. Take the Long Way Home is probably the cleanest sounding of all the songs on it. That's the most sort of ragtimey, blue-eyed soul sort of piano. Lord Isn't Mine is such a nice, touchy sort of ballad. It's very sort of vulnerable, and I like that sort of break, especially when you get into Just Another Nervous Wreck and the end. I wouldn't even say that it's a gripe, but if somebody was to be hey, this all kind of sounds the same, you are right. But then I would also say that it's that's part of what makes it great, is that it is such a great start to finish, and we just so happen to have 4 singles on this that still get consistently played on radio today.
Yeah. By the way, I did double check. It is just the 4 singles.
Yes.
I want to say that Gym Class Heroes and Patrick Stump has ruined the song Breakfast in America. I can't listen to it because I have all day had just playing on repeat. It's broken my brain, and I'm kind of upset you brought on this album just because of that.
I was debating that song.
Look, I'm a big Gym Class Heroes fan. Okay. That's how
I
discovered it.
I like Patrick Stump. I think Fall Out Boy is good. But
we'll talk about next time somebody brings on one of their albums. Yeah, so any last thoughts on this album before we move on? I will give one, just because I'm going to talk about the vinyl, the LP in particular. I wish we would bring back albums that gave you all of the lyrics when you buy the album. Please bring that back
so you can sing along.
Exactly. But Andrew, Google usage would go down by 25,
but
25%.
Yeah, but I can't hold my phone and my hairbrush at the same time.
Can't
Like,
you-
Plus,
can't
there's more space for conspiracies.
When
Yes.
the apocalypse happens, when the grid dies, Bard will still have his lyrics
Yeah.
to sing Supertramp with. Don't worry.
All right. With that being said, I'm giving this album a 9.5. I think that there is front to back, this album just works super cohesively. Except Casual Conversations is a little bit too casual, if you get what I'm saying. It's a little bit too relaxed of a song. It's still good, but when you compare it to everything else, it's the secondhand news of the album. That's going to be a term I use often on this
Strike
show.
two.
I'm going to piss Brooklyn
Strike
off.
2.
May as well talk about Bruce Springsteen while I'm at it.
I'm just gonna leave. You guys have fun. Drive safe, everybody.
So, yeah, Casual Conversations is my least favorite. If you had asked me a year ago what my favorite song on this album was, I would have told you it's Take the Long Way Home. Because I had put that on my top 500 list when Brooklyn and I were making our cohesive top 500. But the more and more I listen to it, the more and more I grow up, the lyrics of the Logical song just hit me emotionally and deeply. Like, now watch what you say, or they'll be calling you a radical, a liberal, fanatical, a criminal.
Yeah, that's
will-
you.
Yeah, that's me. All of those things. And just the whole concept of, kind of losing a little bit of yourself with the way that, the system kind of works. It's a fantastic song from every single aspect. Let's go to Brooklyn next.
I almost did a really, really bad Trump impression there.
Let's not today, sir.
No, not today. Okay.
Not today, please.
Almost in lockstep with you, Andrew. I also give this a 9.5. I'll do my least favorite first. My least favorite is also Casual Conversations. My whole gripe with that is I just wanted to pick a lane. I feel like it's trying to do the slow ballady stuff, but also keep the upbeat electric piano pieces that are prominent in the rest of the album. Beforehand, I would have said that Logical song was my favorite because of the wordplay, but I'm in complete agreement with Zach that Goodbye Stranger is my favorite, particularly because of the outro and just how batshit crazy it goes, and then also like how the chorus in particular builds up with that, again, call and answer, and the storytelling within that chorus itself.
All right, let's go to Zach next.
I forgot to think about the score for it. I'm going to give it a 7.9. And I'll say my favorite song is Goodbye Stranger. It's just lots of fun for me, and I like that kind of doo-wop vibe. And my least favorite is Gone Hollywood because they are screaming, "Look at me" the whole time. Look at me, look what I can do. And it's just doing too much is what it's doing. Just too much. And I'm going to give my quick rumors take since we're also doing this on our videos. Secondhand news rules. What ruins rumors is Don't Stop.
Oh my god.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh my god. All right, Dan.
I'm giving this an 8. I'm going 8 on this. Favorite song is the Logical song. I really enjoy that one. Whenever it comes on, it puts me in a good mood. And I'm not just trying to be contrarian. I'm really sick of Goodbye Stranger. It's just a little too overplayed for me. I recognize the fact that it's, like I said, it's a banger. But I'm in my listen of this, I even skipped past that just because I
You bastard.
heard it far too many times.
Goodbye, stranger. It's been nice. All right, Josh, let's go to you.
Okay, I gave it an 8.7. Fantastic album. My only thing with it, which is like, I'm being picky here, but my least fave was Gone Hollywood. And I don't even dislike the song really, but like I was saying earlier, some of their songs, because of the progginess, or you may or may not consider it proggy, get a little excessive and overwhelming if you're not like, putting it on to listen to it. And I know for me, this would be one of those albums that I'd put on in the car driving with my wife, and we'd be having a conversation and she would make me turn it off because she can't think because of some of the stuff going on. So technically that makes it a less listenable album in my books. My favorite song is Take the Long Way Home. Just a huge song. It's nostalgic for me. And I've experienced it quite literally, as I have many memories driving home in the country when I used to live in a small town after work during the sunset to hear that song till the end.
All right. So, Brooklyn, what does that bring the score to?
That brings the score to an 8.72. That puts it once again in the top 10. It is our top, or like the bottom half of that top 10 is Lola versus Powerman, etc. Then it's Wide Awake, Parquet Courts. 8 is I Love You, Honey Bear, Father John Misty. Then 7 right now is Breakfast America, Supertramp. And then right above it, number 6 is Care for Me, Saba.
Okay. All right. So, with that being said, we have come to the end of the episode, but we are going to pick our favorite. Can you tell that I've been up since about maybe 8 a.m.? We are going to pick our favorite album that somebody else brought to the table today. I will be going first. It is absolutely going to be Lola versus Powerman and the Moneygoround Part 1 by the Kinks. Just so happy that got brought to the episode. Let's go to Dan, since I picked his album.
Oh, cool. I'm going Jamilla. I think while I enjoyed every single one of these, I thought that was the one I came back to more times than not. Came back to a couple of those songs. So,
Right. Zach.
Muted.
With an unfair advantage, it's the Kinks.
I appreciate you at least acknowledging the bias. Let's go to let's go to Josh.
Okay, so I was trying to think of how to answer this question. If it was you have to bring one album with you to an island, I think it would be different, but I'm basing it off of what I had the most fun discovering. And for me, that would be Dot.
Nice.
So no albums in the Hall of Fame this episode, but Brooklyn.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Josh, and I have, if you go back up episodes, I have taken this stance in the past. While Breakfast in America is one of my favorite albums ever in terms of like just like a new listen, what I enjoyed the most, it is Legacy. I have context as to like when I can go back and throw it on for certain times.
All right. So that will bring us to the end of the episode. Thank you all so much for being on. I'm going to give just like a real quick, a little bit amount of time. Josh, Dan, please plug your shows while you're here. Josh, tell us more about your streams.
So Vinyl Spin YVR is my brand or account, or however you want to say it. In recent years, it has been largely focused on the Guess Who. I had a whole show as an extension of Vinyl Spin called Stream to Eat the Guess Who live stream. However, I am wrapping that up with the last broadcast this week. And I'm going to be doing some more projects that do continue to focus around Canadian music. So if you're open to maybe discovering some really awesome classic rock that you didn't know existed, but it's just as good and iconic as what you've heard from the US or over in England, pay attention to Vinyl Spin YVR on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, you name it.
And Dan, tell us more about your show.
Yeah. So I just want to say Josh's channel's great. He's a fantastic creator. We've become friends over the past few years just through, geeking out about music. But in a similar way, through B-Sides Live, I create content and live streams that bring music lovers together to connect and celebrate their shared passion for music, both new and timeless. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch, we do 3 full albums together. We just kind of hang out and goof around in the chat, talking about them live as we're all listening. And then every Sunday night, we do a Grateful Dead request night. So it's if you haven't experienced the Dead before, it's a fun intro session, and if you love them, it's a place to just geek out with other Deadheads every single Sunday.
So links to some of their stuff will be in the description of this video. Please check them out.
Thank
Zach, do you have anything going on? The
No,
Lucas and Zach podcast?
You can schedule an observation at my school if you're thinking about seeing my kid. If you're interested in Montessori, you call me.
All right. Well, that'll do it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Zach. Brooklyn, any last thoughts before we head out?
I guess we can't really announce next month's.
Not yet.
No,
we're still figuring out the panel for next month. But tune in, because we're hoping to do a theme for next month. But until then, thank you all for watching. This is the Turntable off of the Like 500 Takes channel. And keep on rocking.
drive safely.